Do you remember The Facts of Life? It looked like a simple sitcom about teenage girls, but behind the smiles was a far darker reality. After the cameras stopped, the cast faced heartbreak, illness, and even death. Join us as we uncover who they really were and honor the legacies they left behind. Kim Fields as Dorothy Tootie Ramsey. Kim Fields was born on May 12, 1969 in New York City. At 10 years old, she played Dorothy Tootie Ramsey, the energetic, curious girl on roller skates in The Facts of Life. Tootie's warmth and humor grounded the ensemble and gave the show emotional balance as its themes matured. Her early success came with constant pressure. Raised by her mother Chip Fields after her parents' divorce, Kim worked steadily from childhood, moving between New York and Los Angeles while juggling auditions, filming schedules, and school. Acting became not just an opportunity, but a responsibility, shaping her resilience and professional focus at an unusually young age. That early intensity followed her into adulthood. Kim married Jonathan Franklin Freeman in 1995, but the relationship ended in 2001 as career demands and personal differences widened. In 2007, she married Christopher Morgan, and while building a family, she also expanded her career beyond acting, gaining recognition for her work on Living Single and transitioning into directing television projects. Instead of stepping away, Kim redirected her momentum. She directed episodes of Tyler Perry's House of Pain and other series, later returning to acting with renewed control over her choices. This period marked a shift from child star to industry professional, balancing visibility with behind-the-scenes authority. Now, Kim Fields is 57 years old and remains active as an actress, director, and producer, including her role on The Upshaws. With an estimated net worth of about $8 million, her career stands as a long arc of persistence, built from early responsibility, sustained reinvention, and a steady refusal to remain defined by a single childhood role. Lisa Whelchel as Blair Warner. Lisa Whelchel was born on May 29, 1963 in Littlefield, Texas. At 16 years old, she played Blair Warner, the wealthy, sharp-tongued boarding school queen in The Facts of Life. Blair's confidence, ambition, and visible emotional growth helped shape the tone of the series and made Whelchel one of the most recognizable teen faces of 1980s television. That on-screen polish was reinforced by her stressful childhood. Growing up in a strict Christian household, Lisa entered show business young through the new Mickey Mouse Club, learning discipline and public restraint before she fully understood adulthood. Those years trained her to perform consistency and control, traits that later defined both her acting style and career decisions. As her fame peaked, her personal life carried mounting strain. In 1988, she married Steve Cauble, a pastor, and they raised 3 children while Lisa balanced television exposure, music projects like All Because of You, and later reunion appearances tied to The Facts of Life. Over time, emotional distance and diverging priorities weakened the marriage, leading to their divorce in 2012. Career pressure soon intersected with physical hardship. After competing on Survivor Philippines in 2012, Lisa was diagnosed with West Nile virus, an illness that disrupted her momentum and reshaped her professional pace. During recovery, she shifted away from acting toward writing and speaking, publishing books such as Creative Correction, and focusing on reflective, faith-based work. Today, Lisa Whelchel is 63 years old and works primarily as an author, motivational speaker, and television host, including Collector's Call. With an estimated net worth of around $3 million, her later career reflects endurance and reinvention, defined less by Hollywood output and more by survival after fame, marriage breakdown, and serious illness. Mindy Cohn as Natalie Green. Mindy Cohn was born on May 20, 1966, in Los Angeles, California. At 13 years old, she played Natalie Green, the intelligent, sharp-witted, and self-aware student in The Facts of Life. Natalie's humor and emotional honesty gave the series its moral voice, often grounding heavier storylines with intelligence, rather than glamour. That presence was shaped by a childhood that changed abruptly. Raised in a Jewish family with no entertainment background, Mindy was unexpectedly discovered by Norman Lear while still in high school, forcing her to adapt overnight to cameras, scripts, and public attention. Fame arrived suddenly and became her first real challenge. As the show progressed through 201 episodes, Mindy became inseparable from Natalie Green, even as opportunities beyond the role came slowly. After the series ended, she rebuilt her career through steady work rather than reinvention, finding a second identity as the voice of Velma Dinkley in Scooby-Doo, 2002 to 2015, while also appearing in projects like The Secret Life of the American Teenager and multiple Hallmark films. Her greatest test came in 2012 when Mindy was diagnosed with breast cancer. Treatment involved surgery and chemotherapy, forcing her to step away from work and confront long-term uncertainty, both physically and emotionally. Declared cancer-free in 2017, the illness permanently reshaped her lifestyle, priorities, and relationship with her career. In 2026, Mindy Cohn is 60 years old and continues working selectively as an actress and voice performer, including later appearances such as Palm Royale. With an estimated net worth of around $1.5 million, her legacy is defined not by reinvention, but by endurance, remaining visible, relevant, and intact after fame, illness, and decades inside a demanding industry. Charlotte Rae as Edna Garrett. Charlotte Rae was born on April 22, 1926, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. At 53 years old, she played Edna Garrett, the firm but deeply compassionate housemother in The Facts of Life. Edna became the emotional backbone of the series, transforming it from a teen sitcom into a show that openly addressed discipline, care, and moral guidance. Her resilience was forged early. Growing up in a Jewish family marked by parental separation and financial strain, Charlotte also lived with a congenital heart condition that limited her strength and shaped her sense of urgency. These pressures pushed her toward performance as both escape and purpose, leading her to the stage and eventually Broadway, including Three Wishes for Jamie. Marriage added another layer of hardship. She married composer John Strauss in 1951, and together they raised two sons, one of whom, Andrew, lived with autism and epilepsy, requiring lifelong care. The marriage ended in 1976 after Strauss revealed he was bisexual, a revelation that shattered their relationship and left Charlotte managing motherhood and career under emotional strain. Her health battles intensified over time. Charlotte underwent pacemaker implantation, open-heart surgery, survived pancreatic cancer in 2009, and later faced bone cancer diagnosed in 2017. Even during illness, she continued working, appearing in projects like Girl Meets World and Ricky and the Flash, refusing to step away quietly. Finally, she died at her home in Los Angeles on August 5, 2018, at the age of 92, following complications from bone cancer. With an estimated net worth of around $4 million, her legacy endures through decades of television, the maternal authority of Edna Garrett, and a career built on perseverance through illness, loss, and responsibility. Nancy McKeon as Joe Polniacek. Nancy McKeon was born on April 4, 1966, in Westbury, New York. At 14 years old, she played Joe Polniacek, the tough, street-smart girl from the Bronx in The Facts of Life. Joe's intensity and emotional edge reshaped the show's tone from Season 2 onward, giving it grit, conflict, and realism. Nancy's childhood was marked by constant work and relocation. With her brother, Philip McKeon, already acting, the family moved to Los Angeles to support both careers, placing financial pressure and adult responsibility on Nancy at an early age. Schooling was fragmented, friendships were temporary, and work became the center of daily life. That early discipline carried into a demanding career. After portraying Joe in 181 episodes, Nancy fought to avoid being typecast, taking on darker television roles such as A Cry for Help, The Tracy Thurman Story, and later leading the division, 2001 to 2004, where she played Inspector Ginny Ekstead and earned renewed respect as a dramatic actress. Her personal life stabilized only after years of imbalance. Following several strained relationships during her busiest working years, Nancy married Mark Andrus in 2003, a relationship built quietly away from publicity. Balancing motherhood with acting proved challenging, and she gradually reduced her on-screen presence to protect family stability. Today, Nancy McKeon is 60 years old and lives largely outside the Hollywood spotlight, choosing selective projects and family life over visibility. With an estimated net worth of about $6 million, her career reflects longevity through restraint, stepping back not from failure, but from the cost of constant performance. Mackenzie Astin as Andy Moffat. Mackenzie Astin was born on May 12, 1973, in Los Angeles, California. At 12 years old, he played Andy Moffat, the mischievous, impulsive boy in The Facts of Life. Andy injected youthful chaos into the later seasons, shifting the show's rhythm and introducing new generational tension. To gain this, his childhood unfolded under intense pressure to help him gain experiences. As the son of Patty Duke and John Astin, Mackenzie grew up surrounded by fame while living with emotional instability at home, including his mother's struggles with bipolar disorder. That environment exposed him early to unpredictability, shaping both his sensitivity and his drive to work. Acting became both inheritance and refuge. After appearing in 72 episodes of The Facts of Life, Mackenzie transitioned into film and television with roles in The Last Days of Disco, Iron Will, and later high-profile series such as Homeland and The Magicians. These steady work established him as a reliable character actor beyond his child star image. A sudden physical trauma altered his path. In 2001, Mackenzie survived a severe car accident that resulted in the loss of part of his right ear, an injury that required recovery and psychological adjustment. The incident slowed his momentum but deepened his resolve to continue acting on his own terms. Today, Mackenzie Astin is 53 years old and remains active in television and film. Married to Jennifer Abbott since 2011, he maintains a stable personal life with an estimated net worth of about $5 million, earned through decades of persistence after early fame, family turbulence, and lasting physical injury. Cloris Leachman as Beverly Ann Stickle. Cloris Leachman was born on April 30, 1926, in Des Moines, Iowa. At 60 years old, she played Beverly Ann Stickle, the blunt, free-spirited sister of Edna Garrett in The Facts of Life. Beverly Ann refreshed the series' final seasons with wit and authority. That emotion was built from her early years. Growing up in a working-class household with constant financial strain, Cloris learned resilience early, channeling it into performance at school and later formal training, a path that carried her from regional theater to demanding television work well before fame arrived. Marriage brought its own rupture. She married George England in 1953, raised 5 children, and managed a household alongside a relentless career that included The Mary Tyler Moore Show and the Oscar-winning The Last Picture Show. The marriage ended in 1979 after infidelity, and the family was further shaken by the death of her son Brian from a drug overdose in 1986. Health challenges accumulated with age. Cloris underwent pacemaker implantation, open heart surgery, survived pancreatic cancer in 2009, and later faced bone cancer in 2017, continuing to work through illness with appearances such as Raising Hope and Ricky and the Flash. The persistence reflected a career-long refusal to step aside. Cloris Leachman died at her home in Encinitas, California, on January 27, 2021, at 94, following a stroke with COVID-19 as a contributing factor. With an estimated net worth of about $10 million, her legacy spans 8 decades, crowned by an Oscar, multiple Emmys, and a final chapter on The Facts of Life that honored her authority and range. Molly Ringwald as Molly Parker. Molly Ringwald was born on February 18, 1968 in Roseville, California. At 11 years old, she played Molly Parker, the orphaned idealistic student in The Facts of Life. Though brief, the role gave the series an early emotional weight and quietly introduced a face audiences would soon recognize everywhere. Entering the industry almost immediately reshaped her childhood. Raised by a jazz musician father, Molly began performing before most children find their footing, moving from stage work into television while still forming her identity. That early exposure later informed her sensitivity in films like Tempest and her transition toward more complex roles. Career momentum arrived suddenly and loudly. After leaving The Facts of Life, she became the defining teen presence of the 1980s through 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club, films that fixed her image in pop culture while also narrowing how Hollywood perceived her range. As she aged out of that box, she deliberately sought reinvention through theater, independent film, and later television. Her personal life unfolded alongside that reinvention. Molly married Valérie Lemanière in 1999, a relationship that ended in divorce in 2002, followed by a more grounded chapter after marrying writer Panio Giannopoulos in 2007. Parenthood and long-term partnership offered stability as she balanced work across stage, screen, and writing. Today, Molly Ringwald is 58 years old and remains active as an actress, writer, and cultural commentator, with recent visibility in series like Riverdale and Feud. With an estimated net worth of around $11 million, her career reflects endurance, shaped by early fame, redefined through choice, and sustained by adaptability. George Clooney as George Burnett. George Clooney was born on May 6, 1961, in Lexington, Kentucky. At 24 years old, he played George Burnett, the charming, smooth-talking handyman in The Facts of Life. The role added adult romantic tension to the series' later years and previewed the leading man ease that would define his future. His youth was marked by constant moves tied to his father's broadcasting career, demanding quick adaptation and early ambition. That restlessness fed a long apprenticeship through short-lived shows and auditions, sharpening instincts that later paid off in television and film. Professional ascent brought strain at home. Clooney married Talia Balsam in 1989, but escalating workloads and rising visibility contributed to a 1993 divorce as his career gathered pace toward ER and subsequent film breakthroughs like From Dusk Till Dawn and Out of Sight. Years later, stability arrived with his 2014 marriage to Amal Alamuddin, alongside family life with twins. A medical setback colored his formative years. As a teenager, Clooney developed Bell's palsy, causing temporary facial paralysis that resolved over months, an experience he has credited with shaping humor and self-awareness that later informed performances across Michael Clayton and Up in the Air. Now, George Clooney is 65 years old and remains active as an actor, director, and producer, with recent work spanning film and theater, including Good Night and Good Luck on Broadway. With an estimated net worth around $500 million, his path from a brief Facts of Life role to global influence reflects endurance, reinvention, and control over craft and legacy. Felice Schachter as Nancy Olson. Felice Schachter was born on November 17, 1963, in Queens, New York. At 16 years old, she played Nancy Olson, the sweet, gentle student in The Facts of Life. As part of the original lineup, Nancy helped establish the show's softer emotional tone before its major retooling. Her early years were structured but demanding. Guided by a mother working as a theatrical manager, Felice entered commercials almost immediately, juggling auditions, rehearsals, and school while growing up largely inside the industry. That pace left little room for a conventional adolescence, even as it built professional discipline. Acting success arrived quickly, but briefly. After The Facts of Life, she appeared in the cult comedy Zapped and several television projects, Yet the constant churn of auditions prompted a decisive shift. Choosing education over exposure, she stepped away from acting to attend Brown University, redirecting her ambitions. That pivot reshaped her adult life. Felice moved behind the camera with production work on series such as Law and Order, SVU, then later transitioned again, applying her experience to education rather than entertainment. Each change reflected a conscious move away from visibility toward long-term fulfillment. In 2026, Felice Schachter is 63 years old and lives a private life as a special education teacher in New York City. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, her story stands as one of early success, intentional retreat, and a career defined not by fame, but by chosen purpose. Jewell Piekarski as Sue Ann Weaver. Jewell Piekarski was born on January 2, 1963, in St. Louis, Missouri. At 16 years old, she played Sue Ann Weaver, the boy-crazy, image-conscious student in The Facts of Life. Her character captured the exaggerated insecurities of teenage dating culture and helped give the first season its satirical edge. Her youth was already shaped by performance before the series began. Jewell entered show business as a mouseketeer on the new Mickey Mouse Club, where long rehearsal days and constant visibility created discipline, but also pressure. That early exposure carried into her transition onto network television. After The Facts of Life was retooled, her acting career narrowed. She continued with guest roles on shows like Different Strokes and General Hospital, and later moved into voice work, including projects connected to Tom and Jerry. Gradually, stage work and regional media replaced the intensity of network fame. Her personal life became the center of stability for many years. Jewell married John Probst in 1986, and together they raised 3 children near St. Louis. Although the marriage eventually ended in 2017, it marked a long period in which family life took priority over chasing industry relevance. Now Jewell Piekarski is 63 years old and lives a private life away from Hollywood. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, her path reflects early fame, conscious withdrawal, and a lasting choice to value personal balance over prolonged visibility. Julie Ann Haddock as Cindy Webster. Julie Ann Haddock was born on April 3, 1965, in Los Angeles, California. At 14 years old, she played Cindy Webster, the tomboyish, outspoken girl in The Facts of Life. The character added a rough-edged contrast to the group and helped define the show's early, less polished tone. Growing up inside the industry created quiet pressure early on. Julie began acting around the age of 10, moving between auditions and sets, while most teenagers were still forming friendships and routines. Appearances in projects like The Great Santini and Wonder Woman expanded her resume. Her acting career peaked quickly and then shifted direction. After her run on The Facts of Life, she appeared in series such as Boone and Little House on the Prairie, but opportunities narrowed as the show moved on without her. Rather than chase diminishing roles, she gradually stepped away from acting and redirected her creative energy toward music and production work. That transition coincided with personal strain. Julie married Eric Becker in 1997, and the couple welcomed a son, but the marriage slowly deteriorated and ended in divorce in 2018. The separation marked a painful period of emotional collapse, forcing her to confront depression while rebuilding life as a single mother. Today, Julie Ann Haddock is 61 years old and lives largely outside the spotlight, working behind the scenes in music production. With an estimated net worth of around $1 million, her story reflects an early rise, a quiet retreat from fame, and a long process of redefining identity beyond television. John Lawler as Stephen Bradley. John Lawler was born on June 5, 1941, in Troy, New York. At around 44 years old, he played Stephen Bradley, the steady, authoritative school figure in The Facts of Life. His presence grounded the adult world of the series, giving structure to the girls' turbulent coming-of-age stories. His early years were shaped by instability rather than comfort. Growing up during and just after World War II, John experienced economic uncertainty that quietly influenced his reserved, disciplined demeanor. That background later translated naturally into authority roles, including his earlier work on Felice, where restraint mattered more than flash. Professionally, Lawler built a career on reliability instead of stardom. He moved steadily through television with supporting roles in The Facts of Life, The Rockford Files, and later appearances that reflected the industry's trust in his understated presence rather than headline appeal. John Lawler passed away on February 13, 2025, at the age of 83, from natural causes while living in a veterans' care facility. With an estimated net worth of about $1 million, his legacy rests not in fame, but in decades of consistent work that quietly supported television's golden ensemble era. Geri Jewell as Geri Tyler. Geri Jewell was born on September 13, 1956, in Buffalo, New York. At 24 years old, she played Geri Tyler, a young woman with a disability navigating everyday life in The Facts of Life. The role changed television history by making disability visible without turning it into a punchline. Her childhood was defined by physical struggle and social isolation. Diagnosed with cerebral palsy in infancy, Geri grew up facing medical challenges, bullying, and exclusion in school systems, unprepared to accommodate difference. These experiences shaped both her resilience and her distinctive comedic voice. Breaking into entertainment was itself an act of defiance. After appearing on The Facts of Life, she faced abrupt dismissal from the show, compounded by professional betrayal that left her financially exposed. Later work in stand-up comedy and a powerful return in Deadwood allowed her to reclaim creative control and artistic respect. Living with cerebral palsy remained a lifelong reality rather than a storyline. The condition influenced her physical endurance and career opportunities, but also fueled her activism, writing, and public speaking. Over time, she transformed personal hardship into advocacy, earning recognition beyond acting. Today, Geri Jewell is 70 years old and continues working as a motivational speaker, writer, and disability rights advocate. With an estimated net worth of around $500,000, her legacy lies not in wealth, but in permanently expanding who gets to be seen and heard on television. From teenage sitcom stars to lives shaped by loss, resilience, and time, the cast of The Facts of Life changed far more than we ever imagined. Their journeys remind us that fame doesn't freeze life, it accelerates it. Which transformation surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us for more then and now stories you won't recognize at first glance.